Oh, hi there. Thank you for staying. Thank you for joining us for the news review. We're bringing you all the details from the major newspapers. And let's start with the Ghanaian Times newspaper. 2020 Comprehensive Food Security and Vulnerability Analysis. 3.6 million people face hunger. I'll bring you details of that story on page 16. And it says, food insecurity has worsened among the Ghanaian population. A survey by the Ghana Statistical Service and the Ministry of Food and Agriculture has revealed. Want more details, right? Now, a person is food insecure when the person lacks regular access to enough safe, nutritious food for normal growth and development and an active, healthy life. Of course, you are what you eat. You don't eat well, you are susceptible to disease and all of that. According to the survey dubbed 2020 Comprehensive Food Security and Vulnerability Analysis, such persons increased from 1.2 million, look at the gap, to that is representing 5% of the population in 2009 to 3.6 million, constituting 11.6% of the population in 2020. That's an addition of 2.4 million. This indicates that food insecurity has worsened among the Ghanaian population over the period. Thus, more Ghanaians have very limited access to sufficient and nutritious food for active and healthy life. That's according to Dr. Peter Techi-Pepra, who is the project coordinator. Pertinent questions to ask, especially on the back of COVID-19. Even more pertinent, even more so. Why? COVID made matters even worse for the poor. The filthy rich or the very rich have made a killing on the back of COVID. Talk of the likes of Amazon, Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk, Tesla, and all of those. But one thing that COVID-19 exposed was, the poor systems, the poor systems that we have in different parts of the world, especially in the third world, in terms of social protection and all of that. They have come to the fore. And no surprise that around this time, I dare say, I do not have all the statistics, but I dare say that this number could even be more, the 3.6 million. So look at the trajectory, 2009, 1.2 million. Today in 2020, when we have the Sustainable Development Goals that should be helping us, like those of us in Ghana, to inch towards people having better food security, access to potable water and the rest, we are rather declining. We are retrogressing. The question is, why? Well, so that is the story there. 3.6 million people facing hunger. There's also this story, $103 million landscaping small-scale mining project launched. That's on page 7 of the paper. And Deputy Speaker can vote when presiding, AG tells Supreme Court. That's another interesting matter, and you know exactly why. So the Attorney General and Minister of Justice, Godfred Yeboah-Dame, in submissions filed at the Supreme Court, has said a deputy speaker or any member presiding over proceedings in the House in the absence of the speaker was entitled to cast a vote in accordance with Article 1041 of the 1992 Constitution. The AG also said a deputy speaker of Parliament or any member presiding over proceedings in the House in the absence of the speaker was entitled to be counted for the purpose of making up the quorum of half of the members of Parliament. Now, the submissions filed on January 24, 2022, contained in a statement of case filed, was a response to a suit by a law lecturer at the University of Professional Studies and a citizen of Ghana, Justice Abdullahi. Right. So that is the take there, and only time will tell exactly how the cookie crumbles in Parliament, because the minority as well has insisted that it is not going to allow any of the deputies, first or second, to cast a vote. As has been said, as has been suggested by some, they have a casting vote, and whether that will be accepted in Parliament. I mean, if it is what it should be, then it should be, right? But I guess it's about the meaning of what exactly the standing orders say. Abonya DC granted 100,000 Ghana cedi bail for alleged publication of false news. On the international front, on page 5 of the Ghanaian Times newspaper, Burkina Faso's coup leader sworn in as president, and humanitarian situation in Somalia remains extremely dire. On the back page, President makes case for PWDs, people living with disabilities, on inclusive education. That's it for the Ghanaian Times news paper. But we have joining us Duncan Amwa, and he joins us, of course, as we talk about increasing fuel prices. He is the executive director of COPEC. Duncan, thank you for joining the conversation.
Ben, good morning, and good morning to your viewers as well. Ben.
Right. But it may not be so good a morning when we reflect on the latest fuel prices. So I shudder to go to the fuel station, I'm not going to mention, where I refuel all the time with a specific type of fuel. And the reason is I've been paying 7 point something over the last how many months, and now looking at where the prices have shot up to 7.99 and the rest, I'm even afraid to go and check. And we know of the recent increments as well. I mean, what do you make of all of it? What do you make of it?
It is very, very depressing. It is sad, and it is quite unfortunate that we are waiting for it to get worse before any action is taken on these things. We've had these discussions. Ben, I'm sure I've spoken with you. You've spoken about it. Other panelists, other Ghanaians from all walks of life,
right,
have had issues with fuel pricing in Ghana over the period. Yet, those within the policy space that should be considering what to do to ensure that you and I don't get the kind of, bargain we are getting, are all gone to sleep. So for this morning when I spoke to one of your producers, I said, the song you should be playing for them is Omada.
You mean medicals Omada?
Omada. I mean...
Why no pardon my tree, but who are those who have fallen asleep?
Ben, I do think that the finance minister ought to sit up and do a lot better than he's doing. The fuel price increases. You would find the commercial transport operators complaining. I heard yourself say now you are even scared to go to buy fuel because of the numbers that we are registering by the day. But you know the one to be hardest hit by eventually, it will be the government itself. Perhaps it takes time for them to realize this. But if you want the single largest consumer within the economy,
right,
it is the government itself. To operate office of government machinery, to operate the very large ministries that we have, the departments, agencies, to operate the judiciary, as well as the legislature and all other places that will probably need to support with fuel for their functioning or functionality. Ben, you could understand that if these VAs were probably paying 500 million Ghana cedis for the year,
right,
because fuel was 5 cedis a liter. Today that we are almost at 8, the government would need to spend at least 800. If assumptions were to be equal, it means that it will cost the government overall much more. Again, government contracts, projects, and businesses
right,
would all go up simply because we have now become, spectators. Those within the policy space that should be contemplating how to manage the fluid situation have gone to sleep.
So this in the end, Duncan, this could become a Pyrrhic victory. You think you've won, but in the end, you find out that though you've won, you've lost so much more. But I'd like you to reflect on this. Globally, fuel prices or the prices of these commodities are going up. It's not just in Ghana. Globally, the price has shot up. I mean, the recent one we've heard is that over the last how many months, we've enjoyed prices close to around $90 per barrel. So, and some have made the argument, if you like, that since we are making so much off of this, when in fact prices were much lower, $60, $70, even there's been some stability, $70 to $80 within the last few months. Since we are making so much more than what we projected in our budget, we should be able to use the extra of about 100% to cushion the ordinary Ghanaian who is purchasing these products. Do you side with that argument?
You see, Ben, you put it succinctly. The challenge with our political actors is what you described. It's a Pyrrhic victory. It would sound like, oh, we need money, so we are collecting every revenue that we can get, both the taxes at the pump and then the windfall revenues that is accruing simply because you also have crude prices at present hovering around $95 a barrel. Right. Whereas in the 2022 budget, government projected revenue for our crude exports is $62.5 a barrel.
Right.
So there's a big gap on there in excess of $30 a barrel currently. And government, and for that matter, the finance minister may want to think that he is getting excess revenue that he can use for other things. But you see, that is where he will get it wrong entirely. Over the year 2021, our recorded values for these windfall revenues, because of pricing being around 75, 80, 85 for most of last year, was around 2.5 billion Ghana cedis. But Benjamin, look at the catch. The 2021 budget, total governmental expenditure was hovering around or below 100 billion, if my memory serves me right.
100.5. 100.5 billion.
Exactly. Now we come to 2022 budget and realize we have not added another president or 10 other ministers. We have rather gone down on ministers. But look at how much we ended up with the 2022 budget, 137 billion, if my memory is so spot on with this. So at the same size of government, at the same size at the ministry, or probably even a smaller size, you would end up paying way more simply because the cost of living, the cost of your contract, the cost of your expenditure line would simply balloon simply because you fail to apply that 2.5 billion excess revenue that you probably made because crude prices had shot up.
Right.
So you will keep the 2.5 and come back with a 30 billion plus, extra expenditure line.
Right.
Simply because the contractor you used to pay 1 million Ghana cedis per kilometer. Today, when he has to move the bulldozers and the trucks and everything to site, he will not take the same 1 million. He will go up more because fuel is going to drain him.
Right. So Duncan, it is clear that this is a very convoluted situation we have to deal with. One thing, though, that I struggle to grasp is how government in, government out, we've not been able to properly regulate, deal with this situation. And we've played politics with it, let's be honest. We've played politics with fuel prices, and now it is coming back to bite. But it's not a political issue. From where I sit, I feel we just don't have the right mechanisms in place, regardless of which party is in power, to regulate this so that the ordinary Ghanaian does not, have to suffer the sort of consequences we see. Price stabilization and all of that, and we end up using the money for different kinds of things. But Duncan, even as we wrap on this subject, we've been told that projections when it comes to poverty levels, when it comes to the cost of living, are not going to go down, that they are going to go even deep into 2023. And we are nowhere even in the first quarter of 2022. Cost of living is going to go up. And tie that into the fact that the Ghanaian Times newspaper is saying this morning, according to a 2020 Comprehensive Food Security and Vulnerability Analysis, that 3.6 million people in Ghana face hunger. You put all of that together, and it's quite a situation we have to deal with. But anyway, let's move on to some other stories very quickly. What is your take, Duncan, on this matter of the Health Minister, Kweku Agyeman-Manu, and Parliament, whether he actually flouted some articles of Parliament, I believe Article 191 of the Constitution, 1992 Constitution of Ghana. It's been said that he perjured. Oh, he didn't perjure. Oh, he could have, instead of going straight to enact the deal with Sheikh Al Maktoum, he could have at least, even if not with a certificate of urgency, he could have gone to the Health Committee of Parliament to alert them about the situation. And now the minority, all of them have signed a petition, and they are calling for a vote of censure. In the past, some have said he should walk away peacefully, quietly. The likes of Kweku Bako have said that. Others have said, well, it may not be that serious. What do you think about this situation and what it means for following our procurement laws?
Well, Ben, again, as a Ghanaian, and probably one that is worried about the judicious application of the country's resources, the value for money question will be, the first thing that I will be interested in.
Right.
What could he have done? What could he have done? What does the dictates of the law stipulate that he should do? Did he flout these laws? If he flouted the laws and the justification he provides are not as strong, you would expect at least some sanctions. Sanctions not because you don't like the individual, but sanctions because you do not want other ministers to follow suit, in arbitrariness, in just going the way they want to go without recourse or regard for the lay-down processes.
Right.
And so if they can establish that indeed there was no, like what I've probably read elsewhere, there was no cabinet approval for certain decisions that he took and he decided to work on his own, the issue of the public purse, it cannot be an individual whims and caprices. That is why you put PPA, you put all these other bodies together to ensure that those entrusted with expenditure will do so within the framework of the law. If indeed...
The PPA itself sometimes flouts the very same regulations they are supposed to enforce, but that's just on a lighter note.
So, Ben, of a truth, we create systems and then we get stronger men who could sidestep these systems. Once you allow arbitrariness to fester, you are simply creating, a jungle thing. It's more like steal as fast as you can. Do all you can to probably be seen as the smartest among the pack. Such that you can do things anyhow and get away with it. Even if the minority don't get on with this censure thing, I would have wished that the government, the president himself, will take a strong note of some of these things and call these things to order. Because if you don't, like we saw previously in the Boss issue, where somebody decides to go and trade 5 million contaminated fuel, eventually the whole situation gets whitewashed. What you see thereafter is not the individual, but you see other appointees also getting emboldened to do things that ordinarily they shouldn't do. Because the first person who went probably baying for blood also got away with it, and so the other can decide to kill. I do think that the executive, led by the president, should take a stronger view of some of these things. Where necessary, you probably push him to another point, or you probably get him out of government and get him something else to do. But where they sit and take executive decisions that are subject to laws, but they violate these laws flagrantly, Ben, I do not see how we are fighting corruption with some of these actions. It's insincere.
It can be pretty frustrating indeed. The Daily Graphic this morning set up database on State Landed Properties Committee Advisors Sector Ministry. Evangeline Awa wins Junior Graphic Essay Competition, set to visit the UN headquarters. And Asante Hima marks 5th anniversary of installment. I'm talking about Nana Kunedu Yadom III. And Ghana, 2 others firm up vaccine plans. But this one is interesting. Pastor in court for stealing a sum of 7,000 Ghana cedis belonging to his church. That's on page 29 of the paper. Reminds me of that song. I think it's by Koda, right? Christosum ISMP. Well, when the pastors themselves start allegedly stealing, then it becomes quite a matter of concern. Daily Guide, deputy speakers can vote. E-Levy will retain NPP, says Ben Ephson. Abronya DC granted 100K bill, and finest pub and restaurant commends government. But let's delve briefly into the E-Levy bit. Duncan Amwa, are you ready to pay your E-Levy at maybe 1.5%?
Ben, you see, our attention has been swayed as a country onto this E-Levy bit. Look at this. Anytime we discuss E-Levy, then it takes a certain partisan, bit. Those 4 are not 4 because they think that it will do any magic. Those 4 are 4 because they think that, well, it is our government that wants to collect money and we should help the government collect money.
Right.
What the money will be put to, most of them don't even care. And I'm not sure that whatever bill we take to Parliament would even detail, in specific, what exactly we are collecting E-Levy to do. You would hear various explanations. Some would say that free SHS will collapse if you don't collect E-Levy. We didn't have E-Levy when we introduced free SHS, so it doesn't even start. Some would say if you don't pay the E-Levy, then you can't get good roads. There's road fund levy on your petroleum price build-up, meant to cater for roads. We don't use the money that we already collect.
The member of parliament, pardon my coming in, the member of parliament for New Drum and South, Michael Otribefi, told his constituents that if they did not push for the E-Levy, free SHS would be cancelled.
You see, so Ben, it has become one that some of us would want to hear. If you gave us the E-Levy of whatever persuades on your transaction, right? This is specifically what we are going to apply the money to. You hear varied. The Minister for Finance is also out there preaching an emotional sermon on why you should pay E-Levy, forgetting to account for exactly what we have paid for and what has been done with it. Ben, I have an interesting proposition for this country. And I insist that you cannot even continue giving your roads out for contract as a country. It does not make sense in the 21st century that the transport ministry cannot go for bulldozers, cannot go for earth-moving equipment, get the military, engineers, right, to get out there, put one bulldozer per kilometer if you get 20 of them, over a stretch. Give yourself a week. You would have been able to construct a lot of roads. The sand that you go for, you don't import. The chipping, the quarries will provide the chipping, right? The bitumen, God has provided one. And so why do we go through this whole thing? Given contract, you need a contractor to go and fix roads. The military engineers are there. Police have got their own engineers. Put these women to good use and see how they transform the road sector. Unfortunately, you hear the transport minister, it is the talk of a certain AVIP in the middle of your road or Erie now. That is, I don't know. Other counties are progressing so fast, and we bank all our hope on a certain E-Levy. Yes, it might be good. It might not be good. But what exactly are you collecting E-Levy for? I think that whatever bill they put to Parliament to indicate the need to collect E-Levy must be specific where the funds are going to be lodged. Right. So finance ministers, they collect the money, and at the end of the day, accounting becomes a problem, but they come back for more.
That is a crucial point you make. I'll have us wrap on one more issue, but just on what you said, they have made clear that they are going to feed it into something like You Start, a youth empowerment program in terms of job creation, among others. Some people, though, are just skeptical about what is going to be apportioned where to roads, for example, and what the impact really is going to be. After all, we've had billions to play with in the past. But quickly on to some other stories. I will join VIP if Lazy and Prodigal apologize, and that is Promzi. That's in the entertainment page. Ugandan singer forced to sweep street after turning up late for concert. And this one is a very interesting one. Palazzo was forced to sweep the street when he turned up late. Duncan Amwa, so tying into everything, the minority is flagging electricity charges increase as well on the back of the poverty issues, the hunger issues, and the fuel pricing issues. But maybe in some 20, 30 seconds, if you can make it. Francis Xavier Sosu, I'm sure you've heard, spoke about political judges being dealt with politically. What's your quick take on that?
Benjamin, in 30 seconds, we do talk about the disappearance of judges. Was it the 3 judges that disappeared? But when ordinary Ghanaians disappear, they get shot, they get killed. We don't care. We don't care. The Tamale Central, recent happening. Where some trigger-happy uniform men open. So we probably immortalize some and then don't care about the lives of others. If indeed we would want to make sure that our judges are catered to and catered for properly. We should also make sure that the ordinary man who puts a certain trust and confidence in our legislature and judiciary and the executive is also treated. When that happens, I'm certain that you don't even need to remind any Ghanaian that a judge is an important figure in society. But whereas we continue to shoot, kill people, we don't even remember their names. When we lost 3 judges, it's a national matter. Everybody would not want to be reminded, would not want to go back to those very sensitive, memories. But when we shoot 8, we shoot 12, we shoot 50, people have died in Apiate. The only bit you hear is that we are going to get a compensation from the company. What is the government's own step at ensuring we don't ever see these things again? We are interested, Benjamin. We are interested. And so, Mr. Sosu's back and forth with the GBA, I do think that it is a wake-up call for Ghanaians to come to a certain determination that we cannot continue to play the ostrich and expect a fair system. If your brother gets killed and you don't care, then know that your life is also not sacrosanct in itself. Another day, it could happen to anybody. So when one person gets killed, let the GBA come out there and also speak to it. It shouldn't be that it's only when a lawyer is in a difficult situation or a lawyer finds himself, at the wrong side of a trigger-happy officer's, mess. Then, he is a judge, he is a lawyer. The rest of the Ghanaian population, we also count for something.
Duncan, refreshing thoughts that you've shared with us this morning. Deep insight. And we're grateful for your time. Immensely grateful. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Benjamin.
Duncan Amwa, Executive Secretary of COPEC, he joined the conversation, sharing his thoughts there. But up next, we have sports, which comes your way next.